Want to play some pool?
Who, me?
It's Bank Shot, an electronic pool game. You can queue up and shoot. For a break.
Wow!
You can plan cushion shots.
It went in!
Right. With Bank Shot, you can play straight pool, poison pool, and set up trick shots.
Tricky! Want to play some pool?
6 penlight batteries not included. Bank Shot, an electronic pool game new from Parker Brothers.
Let your feelings show wherever you go.
If you can put your feelings into words, Spidell has the perfect place to put them. A Spidell ident bracelet. It shows that special someone how you really feel.
Let your feelings show wherever you go.
Put your feelings into words on a Spidell ident.
Alfie, the L's are gone from our alphabet.
Must be Nasty McEvil. Let's get him. Post-alphabet cereal. Part of this nutritious breakfast. It's doggone good.
Now you can play with 2 new Alfie rescue scenes with alphabet stickers.
Look, Nasty, filling me in. No, I won't. Here comes Alfie. Ribbit.
1 set of stickers in each specially marked box of post-alphabet cereal.
It's Uncle Remus telling it as it is about all those wonderful critters. Brer Rabbit, Brer Fox, Brer Bear.
Hey, there ain't nothing in here except beans.
It's warm and alive with excitement. It's that zippity-doo-dah picture. Walt Disney's Song of the South, rated G.
Now playing at theaters and drive-ins everywhere. Check your newspaper for one near you. The Oregon State Beavers take on the Portland Pilots Saturday at 7:30 on KPTV 12 Portland.
Great American Furniture's Christmas sale is going on now, and we have a tremendous selection of great gift ideas. Like our biggest selection ever of top-quality catnapper recliners in vinyls, velvets, Herculons, and leather. Right now, you save 10 to 30% while our supply lasts. Or just for the fun of it, these versatile high-back scoop chairs only $39 each. Use our convenient credit plan and don't make your first payment till next year. That's Great American Furniture in Beaverton.
Now that you've had a drink, oh, what a time to think.
Wow, I could have had a V8.
You start the wheel, I'll shape the clay. They made it.
They made it with Pottery Craft. With Pottery Craft. With the Pottery Craft Potter's Wheel, batteries not included, you can spin pots, mugs, and dishes. Next day, when they're dry, you can decorate them the way you like.
They made it. They made it.
Hey, that looks great.
With Pottery Craft. The Pottery Craft Potter's Wheel, with everything you need to make air-dried pottery. By Gabriel.
A lot of the people who come to the Schick Centers for the Control of Smoking have tried to quit on their own.
I tried to quit a lot of times on my own, and it just didn't work.
When I tried quitting on my own, there was always a reason to just take one more.
I was not successful.
And then they went to Schick.
I knew Monday, the first day that I went to the Schick Center, that it was going to work.
I knew after the second day of therapy.
After going to Schick, I lost all urge to smoke.
In Portland, call 288-5911.
What a blue ribbon day.
Open a beer. What do you hear? Why, it sounds like Pabst. Listen here.
Pabst. Pabst Blue Ribbon Beer. Pabst is the beer that speaks for itself. It speaks with authority. It says, well done, now have a beer. It speaks of fellowship and good cheer. It says it in one word, listen here.
Pabst.
Blue Ribbon Beer.
Pabst speaks for itself. It says, well done, here's your refreshing reward. For all your Blue Ribbon moments, make it Pabst, because Pabst makes it perfect. Pabst Blue Ribbon, so much better for so little more.
What up, Cyberspace Cadet, Cyber Fam, Fanbox Galore? That's right, it's Saturday. And you know what that means? It's time for accelerated deconstruction, or as we like to call it here, XD. Right? Because you can't get enough of that D. I know I can't.
Big shitting grin.
What's up, everybody? And in the studio with me tonight are the one and only Tim of the Hun.
Hi.
And XL,
Hi.
Air 8.
Also known as Big D, the big dick motherfucker this stream's named after.
True. I don't know about the dick, but I do know how this show is named, so I don't want to know about the dick neither. That's none of my business. I'm uncomfortable talking about
Next!
Right. You're the one that made it weird at him and not me.
Oh,
you guys keep talking about dicks, dude.
You could have just let it go in passing, but then you had to get all specific about it.
I'm sorry. No, you can't leave that door open like that. That is just not fair.
Well, it was your choice to go through it. So
No, you shoved me through it with that. It was like magnets. It's all your fault.
Just accept that Tim just can't get away from that D.
Well, I am married.
Part of the deal.
That's what I'm saying.
Just saying.
You had to get yourself one for life.
Let's say hey to put some people because they're here. Okay, and the good deal. The chat thing is working. So yeah, I'm at work. I had to do what I did last night. Duck Dog, greetings. James Colley, what's up? FTW Nil, I salute you. W Bonnie for you and James Colley again. I see you both. See you all. MC, what's up, brother? And that's our little happy, merry family right at this point in time. So everybody, why don't y'all talk for a minute? I'm done.
So it's been a couple weeks since we did the stream.
Indeed.
One day. That's why I think some people are slow rolling in because 2 weeks in internet time. That's like we haven't done a stream in a year.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. I had like a birthday to deal with.
And then after that, we had season problems.
Yeah, it was like we had a week without, and then last week we were without because I got put in the Sulag. That's right, Susan's gulag.
I want to say it's not like there was a whole lot of crazy stuff going on in the world of critical race theory, but in fact, there was plenty. There's plenty of shit that we could have talked about in those weeks that came and went. It's just, I just see it every day now.
Yeah.
In a way that's good. It's getting up there, and today we'll actually have an article from CNN, which is trying to gaslight for critical race theory, trying to downplay what the ideology.
Well, all right, so we've got that. We'll go over that in a little bit.
But I think what Atima wants to start with is a nice little Atima rant second.
Okay, so do we want to play part of the video or do we just want to talk about it? Because
hey, it's your call, buddy.
Let's play the video.
You sure?
This is it's a Mark Dice video, so you might get tagged because he's like over 1 million.
Well, we'd have to stop and commentate, so
we can do that.
However you want to do it.
Yeah, I mean it's just there's a couple little clips we can bounce around, and I'll talk about little pieces of it because this is it's too far.
Fair enough.
So
just remember to ring that bell, subscribe. Hit that like button, people.
That's right.
Shout us out there. Share us with people. Because Susan's not sharing. And she really doesn't.
You're still monetized, though, even though you keep getting strikes. That's pretty amazing.
She's still out of fucks. It's like
she's still giving you some scraps.
She's tossing me some pennies so she can say that she is, hadn't needed everybody. I know what she's doing. All right, so we got Mark Dice here. Can everybody see him? I need to put him up in there.
Yeah.
Yep, he's on. Everything's
on the
working.
watch page. Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
I was looking at the watch page. Didn't
that
realize
way we can see it all at the same time. I rate this. Remember this time. You remember?
Oh, Mark Dice will copyright hit you?
Oh, he will?
He will?
Well, fuck that dick.
Okay.
Will he strike you or just claim the video? That's the question. All right, we'll just show his face on stream, and Timmy can talk about it.
Okay, so apparently the left is trying to cancel Mother's Day and turn it into Mothering Day. The idea is that because there are 8 transgender people in the world that are doing weird stuff and having kids in the middle of transition, or transitioning while their partner is having a baby and stuff, they've decided that they want to remove the term mother because it makes people feel unwelcome in the air quote community. Now, this is the picture I wanted to show everybody. My brother's pregnancy and the making of whatever it said there. Now that thing...
I just pulled it back. It shouldn't have moved at all. There it is.
There it is. Okay, the making of a new American family. No, this isn't the making of a new American family. This is a woman who was breastfeeding while taking hormones.
Which seems fucked up to begin with. I don't think you want to do that while breastfeeding.
Yeah.
Mr. Scott J87, that's what I saw was they're trying to call it Birthing Person's Day.
Yeah, person of birthing, yeah. So
yeah, this is their whole attempt of trying to completely deconstruct everything we know about gender, based on this small fringe group of people, and then make everybody adhere to this new definition that's based on less than 1% of the population.
Yeah, it's kind of it doesn't make anybody else's head hurt. I wanted y'all to see this. Burn this into your brain, because this is why they are saying that we can't be called mothers anymore. I want y'all to remember this. Remember that they're doing this shit, because there's literally only going to be a dozen or two people like this you're ever going to see, and you're going to have some doctors come out and lose their shit because this is a woman taking testosterone and nursing a child at the same time.
Yeah, so I don't think this one's going to take. I really don't. But it's actually. I mean, it's kind of how this stuff works, right? Is they'll throw something incredibly radical out there and see what sticks, right? And so I think on this one they're going to be like, not yet. Maybe in a couple years we'll try this one again. But that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah,
they're trying to push this one because there's like a war on just our basic understanding of human nature and biology.
Well, and I think that most African Americans draw the line at this kind of shit.
I do too. I think that's it's actually been talked about a lot. So I know that we've talked about critical theory and we've done a little bit on gender studies, but the gender studies movement is the most postmodern of all of the movements.
Well,
right?
yeah, of course.
Where it denies objective reality,
You
which
have
just boggles your mind.
Yeah, right. You got to deconstruct the patriarchy so it can fit your definitions.
Well, see, and this is where my rant comes in. Go ahead.
I just wanted to finish my point is that the gender theorists and the race theorists are actually at odds internally. A lot of them.
Well, okay. If this is what the trans community is, the trans community can go fuck itself. Straight up. They can go fuck themselves. They think this is acceptable. You are hormone treating a newborn child and you don't give a shit. You can fuck right off. That child has no ability to consent to what you're doing, and you're fucking stupid and you're fucking crazy. I don't care if you want to call it you can try to call it whatever you want. It is Mother's Day, and I'll be goddamned if I'm going to permanently damage my body, because that's what happens when you have children. No lie. If I'm going to permanently damage my body to bring life into this world and I get a title for that, fuck you don't get to take it, because I'm the one that did the hard work. 11 pounds, 2 ounces, no fucking painkillers, and I went home 12 hours later. Fuck y'all. You don't get to take my title from me. I fucking earned it. I've got 3 baby girls and a total of 30 pounds worth of baby when I had them. So fuck these stupid fucking crazy motherfuckers. You don't get to take my earned title of mother because I sacrificed all my free time and any kind of idea of independence that I had just so I could be here for my children and I could turn them into the best they can be for the next generation. So fuck you fucking wannabe whatever's you're gonna be. Fuck you little motherfuckers that think you have the right to come tell me what my title is and how my family's supposed to be run when obviously you don't understand how to fucking tie your own motherfucking shoes if you seem to think that the body you're born in isn't good enough for you. No, fuck you. You can fuck right off. You need to go get your ass some counseling. You need to get the fuck off the internet, and you need to stop thinking that dressing up and pretending you're somebody else is good because LARPing is mentally unhealthy, and y'all need fucking Jesus. Fuck y'all.
You got the Holy Ghost today.
Sorry.
You got the Holy Ghost today, girl. Just saying.
It's the mama part, you know what I mean? It's the mama part. So I'm sorry. This was incredibly, deeply, and personally offensive to me, and I will be equally offended if they attack Father's Day because my husband is an amazing father, and he has made some amazing sacrifices to be an amazing father, and he was a single dad when I met him, and he was top bar one of the best single dads out there, period, because his son is a veteran studying to be a chiropractor, has taken on he's a very, very good man. He's a very, very, very good, honest, wonderful man. And my husband's proof is in the pudding. And I swear to God, if they start to not, I will lose my shit even bigger if they take down dads like that because fathers are so fucking important.
Yeah, this entire move to make us pretend that we're not a dimorphous species is... I mean, it's just crazy, and that's why it's the most postmodernist of all of them. Because we have this objective reality. Like, we're really good at looking at people and deciding if it's a woman or a man, right? There's very few exceptions. Even men dressed as women, there's a lot of signals that we're just like, that's a man. Like, we know it is. Not to say that, like, you know, the gender transitioning surgery can't be really good, and it really removes all those signals from a person's body, but it's not normal, obviously. In fact, there was actually an article in Quillette, and I know if you've been paying attention to some of the criticisms of Quillette, is they seem to have a very smart person problem. If you don't know, if you don't know what that is, then you have to go back and look at some of our other streams. But
Andy No bounced from there. He was on Quillette for a long time, and then he went to Substack because they started getting weird towards him over there on Quillette.
Yeah, but it was actually a psychologist that transitioned that already said, like, I'm not going to treat kids, right? I suffered from gender dysphoria. People don't understand what gender dysphoria is and isn't. These kids don't understand what gender dysphoria is or isn't. And they don't understand the consequences of these treatments. And even if I look back, I probably wouldn't have transitioned. Because in the best way I've heard it described by the people that say that they can't, transitioning didn't help is, it's kind of like people that are just like, I'm going to leave town and it's going to solve all my problems. And then they go someplace else, but their problems were all internal. So
right. No matter where you go, there you are.
I'm in this new place and it's fresh and it feels good for a little bit, but then it all comes back. And that's the explanation I've seen. And as far as I know, that's kind of the norm with transitioning. I don't care if adults make that decision or not, but this whole move to just deconstruct gender into, well, they say it's a social construct, which in a very benign sense is true, but deconstruct it into something that defies objective reality. I don't know how they're getting away with it. Well, actually, hold on. I do know how they're getting away with it, because they're trying to make you feel like a bad person by using the most fringe of the fringe, right? The people that actually have gender dysphoria, to cast doubt on the entire concept of gender.
Why are we encouraging people with gender dysphoria to procreate?
Yeah.
I'm not for eugenics, but I'm also not for burdening people that already have mental disorders with kids. Being a parent is not easy.
That's very true, and it's one of those things. I think I talked about it in our last stream. And this actually goes back to the hearing of that ma'am that is now our Health and Human Services Secretary under the Biden administration. What she was talking about, I can show you all the papers and all the science around, hormone and what is it called?
It's a very nuanced. It's a very nuanced science, and I'll be glad they go over the paperwork So
the issue is that science starts with assumptions that are generated through critical theory, right? Like, so once you set like a priori assumptions that, well, gender is just this social construct, and people can be any gender regardless of their biological sex. If that's the assumption of the scientists, if the scientists are operating as if that was some sort of a priori fact, then you can work the science around it to make the science adhere to the assumptions. And whenever you do that, you actually get something very similar to German eugenics, right? They make presumptions about race that aren't actually founded, and it all spirals downhill from there. It's actually way closer to what they oppose than what they actually are. Like, it's so weird, the horseshoe theory around all that.
I don't even think it's a horseshoe theory. I think it's a circle jerk. I think it's a human caterpillar in a Mobius. They can't help but keep shoving their heads up their own asses because it's the only way to keep this delusion going. They aren't using actual science. They're claiming it's science, but it's not. It's not even pseudoscience. It's snake oil. It's fraud. It's outright fraud.
It's at best you can say it's religion. Like it's religious. Hold on. Actually, I would say it's most akin to divine declaration. Right? It is just because they say it is. Even
but that doesn't make it so.
There's nothing actual divine about it.
But that has never worked in the history of mankind. Just because I said so, you do it. It always collapses. It always has. As long as we've had recorded history, look at what civilization has done every time you say, excuse me, every time you say, because I said so. Even with your fucking kids. Those that have kids in the chat know what I'm fucking talking about. They know what I'm fucking talking about.
Yeah, I mean, this is why we started doing the stream on critical theory, is just to talk about it. And it's pretty amazing how it's getting mainstream attention now. And it's also amazing how everything we predicted that they were going to do to argue against it is either they were going to downplay the most radical ideas of theory, or they're going to tell you you're racist you're racist, or you just don't understand it. And I see that every day of the week, right? Anytime somebody comes out to defend critical theory, there's just a whole bunch. They basically just made that, well, this is just about equality, right? And cultural awareness, as this CNN article is going to put it. And we know that's a lie. That's not what it's about, right? It's this radical ideology that's trying to disrupt and dismantle society and replace it with some new social order based on critical theory, even though they don't have any coherent ideas of how to get there, other than they think if everybody just believes this, then utopia will happen.
But that's not how people work. If everybody believes, there's no way to make that happen. You can't legislate thought.
It's an absolutely insane ideology, and what really is pissing me off is that it's becoming a left versus right thing, and leftists, like people that are just like by nature leftist, like they're not, I'm not going to say they're Marxist, right? They're just by nature, like they always want to root for the underdog. And at this point, they've been convinced that, well, I just assume because conservatives are against it, that I should support it, and it's a good idea. And it's not. Like, I don't know how many times I have to say, and this actually came from, I was listening to Edendro and SDA talk a little bit yesterday. They had a little impromptu stream. And Ed was talking about how, like, well, I used to be like against all these SJWs, but the right pisses me off even more. So he's turned a blind eye to it. And I think that is a problem. I don't even know how to solve it, but we have to solve it because this is not conservative versus liberal in the traditional American sense. This is conservative. This is liberalism versus anti-liberalism. And I don't know how many times I have to say that.
This is an information war. Okay, we are in the middle of it's actually we should call it the disinformation wars.
Yeah, I don't even know like
Lars Larson
I get
called
what you're
this,
saying, but
no, Lars
it's almost
Larson
like,
called this fucking when Trump was elected. He did. Right the day, like 2 days after he was inaugurated, Lars Larson said, "Welcome to the disinformation war. You are never going to be able to figure out what's actually accurate and what's truth and what's fiction from here on out."
Yep.
No wrong.
FTW Neil says, well, of course it's politics. The left can't help but use identity politics. They always have. That's true, and I'm not actually talking about the political bodies. I'm more talking about individuals that tend to lean left. This is where I get to actually explain again the very smart person problem. It's generally like left-leaning people like Jesse Signal on Twitter that they do believe that you should judge everybody as an individual, right? And that we should strive to make society a more equal society under the law. But yet, for some reason, they look at critical race theory and they just refuse to see how it is antithetical to their core predisposition of
because they get power from it. Because they get power from it.
Well, they do. They get power from it, and they still get to stay accepted in polite society. Because once you go full out against this ideology that's against yours, you're kicked out of the cathedral.
Well, fuck the cathedral. It's not that nice.
Yeah, I completely agree. We're dissidents, but these people want to be on the right side of history.
Well,
they think they can craft everything to their will by being nice, and that's just not how this works.
Okay, but how did you come to that conclusion when the entirety of human history says the opposite is true?
I don't actually understand that. I really don't. I just know those people exist, that if you really listen to what they're saying, is they suffer from the very smart people problem, where they don't actually buy into this critical theory nonsense, but they're way too credulous, and they give the people that are promoting this way more of the benefit of the doubt they could be, because it seems to them that it's at least politically, socially, or even, economically more, enticing to them.
Yeah. Well,
I'm pretty sure everybody in this chat knows a very smart person, right? It's the kind of person where, like, you're just sitting there saying, like, critical theory assumes that racism is just the ordinary state of affairs of things, and that, it's not a question of whether or not racism occurred, but it's how racism occurred in any given situation. You say that to them, and they don't necessarily deny it, and and then they come back and they just have all these. It's kind of like, I hate bringing this up, but it's like, I always say I'm an atheist, and a lot of people say they're agnostic, and I was just like, well, that's fine, but like, being agnostic doesn't tell me if you're a theist or an atheist or not. I mean, that's more of a mode of thinking. And the very smart agnostic person will always become, well, like, they'll say things like, well, there's no way to prove there isn't a God. And I was just like, that's not how logic works, right?
Well,
you don't disprove a negative. Yeah, you don't disprove a negative. And I feel like the tactics of critical theorists are very similar to that. Or actually, not the critical theorists, the very smart people.
Okay, do you guys remember the old saying, don't become so open-minded your brain falls out?
Mm.
Well, guess what? Their brains fell out.
Mm.
Yeah, they're trying to bend the definition of open-mindedness.
But it's not even open-mindedness anymore. It's quite the opposite. It's forced acceptance under the guise of open-mindedness, because some of what they're saying, an open mind can discern between the nonsensical and the sensical, and that's actually part of the philosophy behind being open-minded, which is a very well developed and thought out social philosophy. It has tomes written about it. I'm sure we've all read some of them. They're excerpts stuck into books from people like Hunter S. Thompson and Jack Kerouac and Tolkien and a lot of literary people that anyway.
Well, real quick, Jack Gunsky is calling something out that is true. The sickest problem when you call out people that follow CRT is that they just scoff and ignore you, and they're fucking arrogant. That's true. I mean, they either do that, right? They either ignore you, scoff you, they call you a racist, or tell you you don't understand it.
Well, but everybody keeps saying it's a religion, but when I discuss religion with Christians are far more tolerant and respectful of other people's beliefs on the whole, like generally speaking.
But they still have to proselytize to you, man, because they're worried. They're worried about what's going to happen to your soul after you die.
Yeah,
right?
But they don't go around trying to force you to do anything. They don't shame you for it.
No,
well, they try to shame you, and it's your choice to be shamed or not.
But you're my friend, and I'm concerned about what's going to happen to you after you die.
I know, and that's better than, oh, you don't think the way I do. Here, let me make sure you're fired. You get kicked off of social media, and the bank cuts you off from accessing your own money.
Holy shit!
Okay.
So, one important thing to note about the whole Christianity thing, and this was a post I saw that was in Carolyn Poroshenko retweeted, talking about the same people that want CRT banned are the same people that want the Bible taught in school.
Yeah.
Or Carly, Carlin. Sorry,
like George Carlin.
It's really easy to say Carolyn, even though her name's Carlin. Carlin Poroshenko. She retweeted that. She retweeted somebody like a blue check mark that said, "It's funny how the same people that want to ban teaching CRT in school also want the Bible taught in school." And I was like, "Well, not only is this not accurate, if you actually look at the bills banning CRT." It's inaccurate to say that Christians want the Bible taught in school. Most Christians I talk to, I mean, there was a stint like in the 90s where they wanted, like, creationists got control, and they wanted creationism taught in the classroom.
Right, as a theory, along with, well, evolution is a theory.
Well, you know how they got kicked out? Like, almost everybody, including Christians, decided to run for school board and just kick them all out before judges could even rule on it. Like, it was already decided by the school board to stop teaching this. And part of it is there's a long tradition in America. And actually, it's the reason there's the religion clause in the First Amendment of government staying out of religion. It's because even Christianity was at odds with each other for most of American history. And the way they got along and compromised on that is like, hey, look, you don't worry about what I'm teaching my kids about Christianity. I won't worry about what you teach your kids about Christianity. There was no real coalition, right? Like the Methodist and the Baptist were completely different, and they had a lot of disagreements, and they wouldn't even consider themselves the same religion. That said, translated today, I don't think anybody I don't think most Christians today trust the government to teach their kids about the Bible.
Wow, we got your boy Pat, Demon Hobbit, Eubonic for you, Aircraft Sparky.
What's up, Sparky?
What up, people?
Well,
Demon Hobbit. What up?
He says he doesn't want schools teaching religion because there's no way to truly ensure they're teaching it properly. I actually have no problem with schools teaching people about religion in an objective matter, just to saying, like, here's religious texts that exist, and you can learn about what these texts say. And none of these critical race theory bills are banning schools from teaching, like, critical race theory is a thing, and this is what it says. What they're banning them from doing is operating under the assumption that critical race theory is true and implementing policies based on the a priori assumptions of critical race theory.
Well,
that's what I'm saying. It's not even what they say it is. It's not a ban on
Hey,
having
Jack,
courses that talk about critical race theory. It's a ban on using that as a policy tool to do training, break kids up into their racial groups and get them to admit their privilege. I mean, this is shit that's really going on in places that don't implement these.
Oh, I like the name of this guy. Check this out. His name is Shot Out and Tired. And in Alabama, that means you are shot the fuck out. It means that you're exhausted. Or you're fucking a geek, on drugs. Geeky on drugs. You're jonesing. But yeah, shot the fuck out. I like that.
Yeah.
It brings me home to my roots, man.
And I know you have the article pulled up. I think we can go ahead and get to it.
You've got the article pulled up.
Let's talk about it.
Yes. Who reads better than all of us?
Yeah, you just need to toss me the link. Is it in the
But
chat?
yeah, Demon Hobbit is saying critical race theory is teaching racism.
It is.
And it's true, it is. It's teaching racism in the classical sense that we understand racism. They've just redefined it so that their version of racism isn't racism anymore. The link is in the chat. You have to go to yesterday at 3:43.
Okay, I found it. Sorry, I was in the middle of typing. Okay, so you want me to read this article about
I've got it
critical
pulled up
race?
on the screen too if people
Okay. Oh boy, we're gonna read gaslighting? Oh yay. Okay. What critical race theory is and isn't? By Faith Karimi from CNN. Okay. Critical race theory. You may be hearing those three words a lot these days. Lawmakers in Idaho are seeking to ban them from the state curriculum, and parents in Texas are opposing a school district's efforts to combat racism with lessons in cultural awareness. Seen by some as critical race theory. It's critical race theory. It's not cultural awareness. They are actually attacking kids for being white.
So I actually had notes on the lies in this article, and I was like, lie, it's 100% influenced by CRT.
Yeah, it is CRT.
It's using things like cultural awareness. These are just nice words that they try to put as like an onion surrounding this ideology. Like, what? You don't like cultural awareness? Fucking racist. But that's not what CRT is about. It's not about culture.
This is a total gaslight, this article, y'all. So, it's like the outrage itself might make you want to strap in, and get you a toddy, all right? Because you're probably going to need it.
Damn it, I'm out of tea.
You're not even going to get past the next sentence, Atima, without me having something to say.
Okay. It's a concept that's been around for decades and that seeks to understand and address inequality and racism in the U.S. The term also become politicized and been attacked by its critics as a Marxist ideology that's a threat to the American way of life. Come on, get some fucking editors, people.
Yeah, you went through one too many sentences too. It's like it's a lie. It doesn't seek to understand and address inequality and racism. It actually seeks to redefine inequality and racism in a way to fit their narrative that everything is still racist. And we've seen it. They say if you're black, you can't be racist. They really believe that. That is part of CRT. And for anybody that grew up with any understanding of racism, that's completely antithetical to everything we understood.
Well, the whole idea, okay, it's we have this entire generation or this group of people that seems to think they can ignore over half of America's historical knowledge and understanding of events and history. And they think they can just throw that all out the window, pretend it doesn't exist, and try to indoctrinate the next generation into believing these crazy, out-of-their-mind ideas about, America is 1619 and police were started as a slave gathering thing, when actually the slave gatherers were arrested by the constables and the police. But, whatever,
Hey,
who
Becca.
cares? Let's just rewrite the history kind of shit. And I think what's going to happen is there aren't enough of these people, because there's going to be enough involved and aware parents that they aren't going to be able to fight the flood, because you really only need about 10 parents per teacher or administrator to overwhelm them.
Well, and they're also redefining, actually, I think they're actually lying. When they say inequality, they mean inequity.
Well, yeah, they're misusing equality and inequality quite handily these days. And it's really insulting if you have any kind of brain.
Yeah, especially as like what we actually have ever meant in Western society about equality and fairness, right? It's never been about, they always say, like, are you talking about equality of outcomes or equality of opportunity? But it's not really about that, right? Because nobody has equality of opportunity too, which is something to write about. But it's more the idea that I don't have any kind of birthright reason to be privileged over somebody else, right? My royal blood doesn't make me better than the next man.
No.
That's what Western equality was all about. It never said that, like, yeah, we believe that everybody can achieve anything they want if they just don't have any barriers, because it turns out there's no differences between humans. They're all blank slates, and depending on their environment, they could all be raised to be exactly the same, and government could enforce this. That's what the theorists believed. All it meant was, look, it doesn't matter if I was born in a poor black household. Like, if I turn out to be an amazing mathematician, I should be given all the opportunity in the world to become an amazing mathematician. And it might be harder for me than some other people to get my way into the door, but the idea that we're trying to drive into people is to tear down any prejudice they have about, like, superficial qualities like sex and skin color, and just look at the merits of the individual. That's what equality means when it comes in a liberal society.
Okay, well, that is the closest we can come to equality as flawed human beings. And that's not just a Western idea. That is a philosophical one that even Eastern philosophy came to.
Yeah, actually, Eastern philosophy and Western philosophy, when it comes to these things, actually
overlap
are very similar, even though they developed in completely different parts of the world. It's almost
Confucius can suck a fucking dick. That man was an authoritarian. Fuck you. Sorry.
Well, it's almost like people that were really paying attention to human behavior could converge on ideas in different parts of the world. It's like there's something innate in human nature that makes us feel this way.
Right.
Like, even they understand it's not fair if you assign me and a friend to, let's say, pick up all the trash in the playground, and I pick up 90% of my trash, my friend picks up 10% of it and spends the rest of his time on the slide, and they give us both the same amount of money. Like, even a little kid's gonna see, that's not fair, I did all the work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's what, okay, so yeah, exactly. If you have just a basic ability to observe humans, especially from small childhood all the way up to adulthood, you learn a lot about how life works by watching how kids grow up. And it gives you a lot of this obvious pieces of history. Yeah, life isn't fair. You have to learn how to work around hard shit. Sometimes you don't get the same stuff as other people. Jealousy won't get you anywhere. You know what I mean? These are things that you can observe, and a philosopher without even a complex philosophy can reach the conclusion that being authoritarian with people will always backfire. What we're looking at right now, it will always backfire.
Mm-hmm.
Don't disagree. I think we can go on with the next sentence in the article.
Okay.
We have to go sentence by sentence. That's how bad the CNN article is.
It's CNN, so you know it's bullshit.
Yes,
To get a deeper understanding.
CNN.
CNN should be SNN. It's just shit news network. Anyway.
Hi.
Hi. Anyway. To get a deeper understanding of what critical race theory is and isn't, we talked to one of the scholars behind it. Oh, who did they talk to?
It actually turns out this is a lie because they only talked to one scholar, which is Kimberly Crenshaw, which we have talked about on this stream. It's one of the progenitors of CRT that came out of the Political Academy. She's a direct descendant of Bell, who is a self-proclaimed Marxist, which is important because if you look at the words, they say, well, we think this is a Marxist ideology. And then you have somebody that is a disciple of a self-professed Marxist. So it's not that we think it is. Like, it actually is. Like, quit lying. It is most certainly, like, I know it's not Marxism. We have made that distinguishment on the stream a billion times, but it certainly flows from the line of thinking from Marx. That's admitted by the people that adhere to it.
Well, okay. Oh, you can pretty much figure out who's pushing a Marxist ideology and who isn't by who's trying to coerce you to do shit. Marxist ideology and who isn't by who's trying to coerce you to do shit.
You're not wrong.
Okay.
Well, let's keep going.
Okay. What's critical race theory? Critical race theory recognizes that systemic racism is part of American society and challenges the beliefs that allow it to flourish.
That's the lie. Like, it really is a lie.
It's a false assumption.
Yeah, CRT makes a priority assumptions that the system is inherently racist.
Yes.
They actually go further and say that liberal ideology is inherently racist. They go further to say ideas like meritocracy, good work ethic, right? Like, those things are also inherently racist.
So it's punctuality, personal hygiene, having a family, paying your bills on time. All of those are white supremacy.
Like, this article couldn't actually bother itself to
Going to work on time, showing up on time.
Systemic racism.
Dude. I'm just saying.
I mean, it also, like, completely, this is something we've said a billion times. It completely flies in the face of the fact that the most tolerant, equitable society, or, you know, actually even equitable societies that have ever existed have operated under this, you know, Enlightenment principles that we should treat everybody as an individual. Like, black people in America today are the most prosperous black people in all of the world.
Yeah.
Granted that there's problems, but according to critical race theory, none of those problems can be attributed to the community itself. It's all white supremacy. And if we all just agree to that, apparently magically all the problems in black communities are going to go away.
Oh, well, you know, the first female millionaire in America was a black woman. So I don't think this really works. So yeah. I'll just leave that there for y'all. Yes, the first female millionaire in America was a black woman.
We can actually go through this a little bit more because what Kimberly Crenshaw says is actually accurate, but misleading.
Critical race theory is a practice. It's an approach to grappling with a history of white supremacy that rejects the belief that what's in the past is in the past, and that the laws and systems that grow from that past are detached from it, said Kimberly Crenshaw. That's accurate. That's accurate for what they believe.
Yeah, it's actually, but it's dismissing all progress that has been made. Like it's pretending like it never changed. This is actually a very strong belief in critical race theory. You'll see it in their textbooks. They say racism never actually went away after slavery. It just changed forms, making it more cryptic and more insidious than it ever has been, which is why we need to disrupt and dismantle the liberal order.
Well, hold on now. All right.
Create something new.
All right. So racism would exist whether slavery existed or not. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Tribalism is a part of human nature.
Yeah. And so it's like any kind of bullshit that they're trying to pull on that is.
Yeah, they actually don't believe
fucking
that. They
stupid.
don't believe in they don't believe in humanism. They think that everyone's a blank slate and that we are socially conditioned to everything that we believe or see in reality.
Right.
Well, this is kind of scary because they're being honest about it. They reject the idea of redemption.
What does that mean?
She put it in a way. She put it in a way that like is plausible, but like without understanding the context of what critical theorists actually believe. It's hard to discern, right? It sounds good in the sentence, right? It sounds like if you were just a person that wants to be, you don't know anything about this, you just want to be a good person, and they tell you that like we're just trying to grapple that like white supremacy existed sometime, and realize that like what's in the past isn't just necessarily in the past, and it could still exist today, right? That's how those people are going to read it, but that's not what critical theorists actually think or apply. Because I like superficially, I could agree with that too, but you're gonna have to point out to me like what laws, right?
Yeah, but
like,
all right, so
you're gonna have to say like what laws, like what is actually like in the system that is targeting people, like what needs to go.
Projected this on its face. Period.
Yeah, I might need to like get even further and say, oh, you want to talk about this is the one they bring up the most is the application of drug laws. And I was like, well, actually, I don't think it's racism that caused that, but that's a real problem. We should get rid of a lot of our drug laws. Like the war on drugs has been a failure.
Maybe this is just that, what's the word I'm looking for? Maybe this is just the cantankerous nature of who I am. But you say something like, it's an approach to grappling with the history of white supremacy that rejects the belief that what's in the past is in the past. I'm going to look at you and say, fuck you. If you can't believe in forgiveness, you need to get the fuck away from me because you are a fucking sociopath.
Yeah, I understand because you can read between the lines and you understand what they're actually saying.
Right, they're saying they're irredeemable. White people are irredeemable, and they're going to be, I mean, come on, man. At some point, eradication is going to have to be a solution. Because white people are vermin. I mean, what do you do to rats? You wipe them out.
Yeah.
You exterminate. You exterminate.
Look, just because we are really happy about the fact that we are on a trajectory to make white people a minority in America does not mean that this whole replacement theory stuff isn't just a fucking conspiracy theory. So stop promoting. No wonder Susan bans you all the time, Irate.
You get banned all the time. All the time.
That's right.
So said Kimberly Crenshaw, a founding critical race theorist and a law professor who teaches at UCLA and Columbia University. See, okay, here's something that really bothers me. I want to know how you can get a degree in law and still turn out to be emotionally retarded like this. How the fuck do you do that?
Well, there's different standards, I'm sure,
for her.
The
fact that this started out in the legal academy makes a lot more sense to me.
Oh,
because
yeah.
Lawyers, the job of a lawyer is to actually skirt the law, not enforce the law. So in this sense, it makes a lot of sense that it came out of the legal academy.
But it lacks all logic.
They found a clever way to potentially skirt the legal system.
Yeah, but they didn't. It's actually blowing up in their faces all over the fucking place right now.
Well, sometimes, but sometimes not.
No,
right?
Have you seen the news over the last 2 weeks, Excel? There have been I've seen at least 5 cases where judges, there's one head attorney that just had to resign suddenly, and I can't remember, I think it's the Coca-Cola guy, and he's looking to be sued bigly because these are racist policies and you're not allowed to enforce racist policies. And then there's 2 schools, and then there's some cheerleader at a university, and then there was
I saw the cheerleader story.
Yeah, and I can't remember, but there's been a bunch of them. There's been a bunch of them lately. This is going to blow up in their faces, and it's going to cost corporations a lot of money.
Yeah. No, you're right about that part, right? Our legal system hasn't been completely defunct. But what happened in the 80s, this is critical race theory, the Crenshaw brand, is what accelerated adding hate crimes to certain crimes.
Mm-hmm. I hate hate crimes.
So they did have success in some sense.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, go on with being our dedicated reader, Gemma.
Critical race theorists believe that racism is an everyday experience for most people of color, and that a large part of society has no interest in doing away with it because it benefits white elites.
100% true. Critical race theorists actually believe that.
Yes, the problem is it's completely wrong and not what people of color experience in America.
Yeah, they do believe it. Actually, even by their own survey scores, from high school students, right, where they ask if racism was a major barrier to their success today. 80% of them say no. 80 to 90 black high school students say no.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad Becca's kids approve of my silliness. This is great. Okay. While the theory was started as a way to examine how laws and systems promote inequality, it has since expanded. It was never looking at how they promote inequality. It was looking at what can I bitch about? What can I complain about? Because that is the origin of critical race theories. What can I complain about?
Yeah, it's let's get rid of any historical context and be what did the current liberal order of thought get wrong at the get-go? Doesn't matter if they corrected it. They said that earlier, right? Can't say the past is the past. It was a failure, and it was such a failure that we can no longer use this method of thinking to run society. We have to move to our method of thinking.
Yeah, it's absolutely about. It's absolutely, yeah. You're right. I just totally forgot the words I was going to say. Sorry, I'm tired.
Yeah, just say I'm right. Just say I'm right.
You're totally right. You're right, Excel. You're right. Okay. Critical race theory attends not only to law's transformative role which is often celebrated, but also to its role in establishing the very rights and privileges that legal reform was set to dismantle. Crenshaw told CNN. That's a bunch of
nothing.
Word salad, because laws and lawyers are not well regarded in American society.
I agree. Whenever you first read that, I said that was a sentence that says nothing, and you were like, "It's word salad." Yeah, it doesn't have any real meaning other than good sounding words.
It doesn't. That's just gobbledygook. There's just, transformative role. Oh, we're so proud of ourselves for figuring out how to bitch everybody off the planet. So, okay, so Like American history itself, a proper understanding of the ground upon which we stand requires a balanced assessment, not a simplistic commitment to jingoistic accounts of our nation's past and current dynamics. Okay, so are we calling all of the Federalist and non-Federalist papers, and then all of the books and tomes and recorded histories of the colonization of North America, are we calling all of that jingoism? Is that jingoistic accounts? Because that's a really diverse list of shit.
Yeah, she's either accusing a lot of work being jingoistic or she's lying. Because the way we've approached history is always like, it's never been simplistic. In fact, I would say critical race theory tries to simplify history to fit its narrative. And whenever you actually look at like all the factors, the context, like the times, right? Like what people believed at the times, all the events that happened around the times, you just realize that like their entire historiography, it falls apart. So what she's saying right here, like I can't help but think like it's just a lie. It's just a lie to say we have the right idea of history, and if you disagree with us, you either don't understand it, or you don't have a balanced assessment, or you're being overly simplistic, even though historians have argued for decades about certain things, but they've never disagreed on the facts. And I'm sorry, critical race theory, like the 1619 Project, it just gets facts wrong.
Okay, but it's like literally what she just said right there was completely inaccurate, though. Like the whopping 2 sentences they quote, it's all bullshit that she said. People do not revere law, politicians, lawyers, or any of that group of people. They don't view them in a positive way. So I don't understand how she thinks that they're like, you know, what? Let me find the proper word here. None of what they're talking about is celebrated. The things that they're highlight, they aren't celebrated.
They're viewed as being parasitic in nature.
Yes.
Lawyers.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah. You know, even Shakespeare said, you know, kill the lawyers. And they're behind all the shit that fucks everything up, especially with, I mean, you know, it's like we have to know, you have to vote for it before we know what's in it type shit happens.
Yeah.
Right? Lawyers do that shit. Right? You know, most of the people in Congress and especially the Senate are lawyers.
They are, and that's what makes them so useless. Like, there's very few lawyers that you don't want to, like, punch in the face.
Well, yeah, here's the deal with lawyers, man. You know, they all suck until you need one, A. But B, really most of their work is done by their paralegals and their paralegals. And then there's their paralegals. So.
Well,
you know.
and
paralegals are the ones that get put through the ringer the most, in my opinion.
That's what I'm saying. And, you know, so, and if you want shit done and done fast, you flirt with the fucking paralegal. Work for me?
Well, yeah, it's kind of hard when. Never mind. Anyway.
Oh, I'll flirt with a damn, you know, a box of chocolates. Actually, it's anyway. Uncomfortable.
Yeah, sorry. I just got an on the chat. I'm sorry. I got distracted for a second. I'm turning into old person. Okay, so.
No, respond to the ad.
Oh, I haven't seen JJ in a long time, and I was really happy to see him because I've known JJ for a long time.
Hello, like JJ.
3 years.
Greetings.
So, it's Jacob J, and I've always called him JJ. He's like my buddy.
Yeah, and those people that I'm with shout out and tired. It's like the Supreme Court when they talk about it, the Constitution being a quote a living document.
Oh yeah, fuck them.
Yeah, fuck that shit.
It's not a living document.
That's right.
It's not.
I mean, that's why the thing's dead. So
it was never living to begin with. Thinking that you can amend your way into whatever the fuck you want is really, really stupid. And if you think you can,
you actually literally can via the Constitution, following its amendment process, amend yourself into anything you want. But
No.
we don't do that.
No, we have a hard set line that you can't take these certain things away. That's the whole point of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and the amendments.
Well, no. You don't get it. Like the amendments, right? Like that's the actual Constitution. You can add to the Constitution. It's just very difficult, and we haven't done it for the issues that are most important to society.
We've never done it.
They just skirt themselves around. That's why I say, like, lawyers, their whole thing is to get around the law. Constitutional lawyers, especially, is to get around the actual meaning of the Constitution.
Right.
That's why they have all these like very complicated legal arguments to define something that the plain language, which I know it's hard to read because it's written based on definitions from 1790 something, right? Wait, 88, whatever. I'm bad at history. Anyway, but you can look at the Federalist Papers and understand what they were talking about. And these lawyers, their whole purpose is to skirt around it.
You can try to skirt around it, but eventually you're going to run into the large, gigantic, beautiful concrete wall that is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Sure. What I'm saying is that what's constitutional these days is just whatever the political appointees of the president say is constitutional, not what the founders meant by the Constitution.
Yeah, well, I think we're starting to go back to people are really starting to focus on what the Constitution actually says. In fact, I would say there's a greater grassroots awakening now than there was for the Tea Party back in 2007. Honestly, boots on the ground.
No, I just can't. I can't see it. Like the
Really?
amount of mobility and activism from the Ron Paul movement.
80
I have not
million votes. 80 million votes. Think about that, Excel.
Well, to like in the election where you could just mail in whatever you wanted.
Yeah, but how many Republicans bought into mail-in voting? The only ones that used it were the ones that were forced to.
Yeah, actually, I'm not gonna take a strong position on this. I just think that the liberty movement as a whole has gotten intertwined with. Because I actually do not think that the MAGA movement and the liberty movement are 100% in agreement, which they don't need to be. But that's a conversation for a different day.
Well, no, they're just both populists. They're both populists that are liberty-minded, and that's all they need to be. That's all you need to run this country, is to be a populist that is liberty-minded. That's all you need for a unifying factor. It's really, really easy. It's already happening, Excel. Come on, Carlin Poroshenko.
No. My
Think
problem
about
is
it.
with libertarians, not what you said, right? I don't think you're wrong, because I got on board. I didn't vote for Trump in 2016. Sure as hell voted for him in 2020.
Yeah.
Right.
Well-
so like I'm with you, but a lot of people are libertarians like me in 2016. We're just like, I don't believe Trump's gonna fucking shake anything up whatsoever. And really, that's all we want. Like, shake the shit up just to like delegitimize government power.
Well, if DeSantis runs, it's going to be a blood fucking bath in 2024 if he keeps up what he's doing now.
I hope he does run just to actually explain the facts of the COVID policy in Florida and why the government. Oh man, like I don't want to talk about COVID on the stream, but I know what's really happening is the government's just doubling down on bad policy. And DeSantis is one of the few governors that would not do that.
Well, yeah. Do you know that Oregon, within the week of DeSantis saying we're removing all mandates, we took away our state of emergency? I think it was like that day or the next day. Oregon indefinitely mandated through the state legislature. They indefinitely mandated masks in the workplace.
Yeah, I mean that's what was going on in not just Oregon, right? Like Canada, like many states of our union, and Canada has been really, really bad about it.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, this is very much turned into a tribalistic political thing the laws and the virus and all that stuff. It's very, very tribalistic now. And it's going to start being filtered into the CRT stuff. Watch. It won't just be health inequity anymore. It'll be other things.
Yeah, I mean, it's already using CRT tactics where if you're against lockdowns and masks, then you just want people to die.
Yeah, you're literally worse than Hitler.
Right. Like the actual facts of the matter don't matter.
Yeah. Sorry. I had a burpee. I had to hold my breath. Excuse me. Okay.
All right, let's go on with the article.
Who came up with the idea? Crenshaw is one of its founding scholars and hosted a workshop on the critical race theory movement in 1989. But the idea behind it goes back much further to the work of civil rights activists such as W.E.B. Du Bois, Fannie Lou Hamer, and Polly Murray. What?
Yeah, they're missing Derek Bell, Michael McColl, and Herbert Marcuse.
What does Du Bois have to do with this?
It's amazing how they threw up the most obscure names that you're not going to find anything about, even though they're not even close to the most important people.
But
critical theory.
Du Bois made music. He talks some shit in some poetry books. I think he wrote one philosophy mini novella, and he did music.
Christine Nome is hot.
What the fuck is this? Anyway, maybe I have him confused with somebody else. That could be it. I don't know. I'm a little stoned. Who knows? But okay. Everything builds on what came before, Crenshaw said, adding that the so-called American dilemma was not simply a matter of prejudice, but a matter of structured disadvantages that stretch across American societies. Okay, I want to point something out that's really fucking racist about this. They are assuming that only minorities are poor. That only minorities are disadvantaged in America.
Well, I actually have notes here to say highlight, right? Where they're talking about these disadvantages. What they're really talking about is oppressed versus oppressor.
Right.
Right.
Power. Goes back to the power.
Which is just what they want. It's all, how can they conversate or how can they exchange their power like fucking crazy? And it makes me crazy because there are no structured disadvantages anymore. We removed them all fucking 60 years ago.
Hold up, my own little notes. I haven't actually structured disadvantages. I'm just thinking about we talked about with the French postmodernists, Derrida and Foucault.
That was nagging. That was whining, complaining, and nagging. That's what they talked about. They talked about being able to nag people into doing what you want them to do. And that's basically what they said.
So you're agreeing with me that that was a good footnote that I had?
Yes. Yes. And I think it steps into here nicely, but I want to know why they're putting up W.E.B. Du Bois. That one really bugs me because I've never seen Du Bois have writings. Maybe I'm missing it. I don't know, but that one bugs me. That one bugs me because that's a musician.
It's amazing how they're going through these more obscure people. I'm gonna get on Patreon.
Well, think about it. It's harder to verify, right?
Well, it's like, how the fuck do you prop up Mos Def as a black Muslim American that's creating change? He's known for a fucking movie. And leaving America and getting his ass handed to him and then running back to America. So I don't... What kind of change are you affecting there? I don't know. He went to Africa. They didn't like him much, so he left and came back to America. Or Britain, one of the two. I can't remember, but he came back to the West. I don't know. Is there a snoring sound object? Yeah, affirmative action is all that's left. Affirmative action is really kind of fucking everything up. It really is. Meritocracy needs to dominate again. Anyway.
No shit.
Crenshaw said she and others took up the task of exploring the role that law played in establishing the very practices of exclusion and disadvantage. Okay,
That's
there weren't.
Very true.
What?
That's actually what she did.
Okay, but those laws are all gone now.
Yeah, no, I understand, but that's what she did.
Okay, but if she did this in 1989, there must have been, what, 6 or 7 laws left? There's nothing left anymore.
Oh, no, she helped create, like, the new, like, hate laws and stuff like that, so...
But this stuff, okay,
but what's true is that, like, she introduced into law, she casted doubt on certain legal theories, took advantage of the way the law works, and applied these theories in order to make the law work the way she wanted it to. So it's accurate that's something Crenshaw actually did.
But they kind of picked over a dead carcass and then boiled it down into bone broth.
Yep.
So anyway, and they're calling it healthy even though it's rotten. Some of the theory's earliest origins can be traced back to the 1970s when lawyers, activists, and legal scholars realized the advances of the civil rights era the 1960s had stalled, according to the book Critical Race Theory and Introduction.
Amazingly enough, this is one of those other parts where I have completely true but lacking context, right? The book Critical Race Theory and Introduction is the same book that tells everybody that being a critical theorist means a lifelong dedication to activism that they are teaching in schools.
Okay, but some of the theory's earliest origins from the 70s, no, they started in the 60s in France.
Actually, it started in the 30s with the Frankfurt School.
Okay, I was talking about the actual critical race theory where the name comes from. We're talking about like Foucault and all them. I thought that was the 50s.
Well, it's funny because what they say here is true again, but they're not actually talking about, like, who are these people that started this? They are all people with Marxist sympathies, which this article is going out of its way to disassociate itself with.
Okay. Well, I don't get it. Okay, so, because critical race theory is older than the 70s, and yeah, okay, anyway. If it's from the 70s, dude, this shit is new and needs to be thrown in the dumpster because it's garbage. Crenshaw was among a group of intellectuals along with Derek Bell, Alan Friedman, and Richard Delgado.
They actually called out Derek Bell.
Oh, wow. Who attended a 1989 conference in Wisconsin that focused on new strategies to combat racism. Why Wisconsin? That's kind of weird. New strategies to combat racism, dude, like this. They're in like the golden age of race relations right now. In 89, they're talking about going to this conference. In 89, like the late 80s through like the mid to late 90s was some of like.
You think the Soviets might have had something to do with this too?
Well, yeah. So what was really happening is that there were people trying to interject racism where it didn't exist and making people believe that it actually did exist there. I mean, that's what critical race theory does, right? Like, at its core, objectively, if we look at the reality of what people that are critical race theorists do, is to convince people that racism exists in places where it does not.
It just frustrates me because they were going after racism at a time when we were at a golden point. Like, it was like the golden age of race relations in America. It was as good as we had gotten it so far. You know, do you know how many mixed race kids?
Turns out Martin Luther King convinced a lot of people that we should judge people as an individual.
But do you know how much mixed race families increased throughout the 70s, 80s, and 90s?
Oh, a lot.
It was like 400% per decade. It was incredible. There were so many openly mixed race families, especially on the West Coast. You know, it was the gold. I'm so frustrated with this because they were intentionally undermining some of the best social and cultural years we had in terms of race relations, and it really frustrates me because that's
because critical race theory actually shames people for crossbreeding.
Yeah. And now you have, what is it, like 15 or 20% of the population is mixed in some way now? And it's like, well, what the fuck are you doing? You're saying almost a quarter of America is a piece of shit because they exist? Fuck. You know? Sorry. It just pisses me off. Maybe it's because I'm mixed and I have a lot of friends that are mixed that just do this shit, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Once again, no disagreements. Let's try to get more through the CNN.
Okay.
If we can.
Okay. In 1993, Delgado, Crenshaw, Mari Matsuda, and Charles R. Lawrence wrote the book Words That Wound, Critical Race Theory, Assaultive Speech, and the First Amendment. Some critical race... Okay, what does that have to do with anything they're talking about?
I was going to say, like, I have not read that book. Just read the title.
Right? I'll read it.
Because the only thing critical theory can actually do is complain about things. It has no actual solutions or positive insights.
What is assaultive speech?
Actually, amazingly enough, that's actually in the critical theorist handbook of what critical theory is. So,
book is assaultive speech.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this is the textbook that started microaggressions.
That's retarded. Okay. It's just a weird placement for this, so maybe they're plugging the book in some way, I don't know. Some critical race theorists also believe notions of race are products of social thought and relations, not biology. Okay.
So there's something really subtle going on here, right?
This is not subtle.
Me as a liberal, like a classical liberal, right? Like looking at things in the terms of we should judge people as an individual, doesn't care if a person's qualities are affected by their biology or not, right? It's just who the person is. But they actually come out and say some, because there is actually a section of critical race theory that believes in these biological differences, but they turn it upside down to presume that turns out that everybody else is superior to white people, and white people are just super oppressive, which is the only reason they are not coming ahead on everything. And I know that you've seen that, right? That's like the We Are Kings type shit.
Yeah. Well, these are also the people that think that you're like a blank slate when you're born and you have like no genetic memory and there's no proclivities or anything like that.
Or other means of knowing.
Yeah. Well, other means of... Anyway, we'll leave that one alone. Other means of knowing is one of those things that irritates the ever-loving piss out of me.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
I totally get that.
Yeah, okay. They correspond to no biological or genetic reality. Rather, races are categories that society invents, manipulates, or retires when convenient. Delgado and Jean Stefanchik wrote in Critical Race Theory an introduction.
All right, I have this set as a lie. Right?
That is a lie.
Because, well, it's only a lie because the first thing they say is that like we should kind of look at genetic reality as like some benign thing, we shouldn't care, right? But critical race theory goes out of its way to actually care about those things, right? It's part of everything it does. It actually believes that if you think that a person's race is not important, you are a racist for being colorblind. Because color is real and you are racist.
Yeah, never mind the fact that even MTV spent almost 20 years saying colorblind is cool.
Yeah, in the 90s, MTV actually was probably a very impactful 80s. Cultural influence. 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was probably a very cultural impact on like doing real work to get people to not be racist.
Yeah.
Unlike critical theorists, which they're not doing real work, they're actually just creating division and creating more racism.
They're actually
that's why this is a lie, right? Like, I mean, we're gonna get into Robin DiAngelo, really?
Oh, the evolution is going to make my head hurt because it's going to be an outright absolute lie. It's going to be a lie. Because they're going to act like there was this rising tide of racism and that wasn't there. Okay. How has it evolved over the years? The theory has a passionate group of followers who are mostly academics. It has inspired at least a dozen books, more than 250 law review articles, and several conferences. And about $2.5 billion worth of damage. But
yeah, I believe that's mostly true, and they're calling it academics. And I just want to say zealots.
Okay, well, do you notice how it's mostly academics, which means that it's fucking useless?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
How much shit have you seen mostly academics believe in that has withstood the test of time? I can't think of shit. Like, I can't think of a damn thing that academics have done as an idea.
Not in the social studies, right? Like, I actually do know. We all know some. Like, we do Carlin Borchenko videos all the time. Like, we do James Lindsay videos all the time. We've done Peter Bogosian videos. Like, there are academics that are fighting against this. The academics that are actually smarter than these people, that are laying it out and just being like, there's just a lot of contradictions. Like, we have really good methods for a reason. We should oppose this because they don't adhere to this. It doesn't really matter because they're popularizing this and they can label all their opponents racist bigots, even if they're just making good points.
Well, all it is shouting down people.
Yeah, I just wasn't so eager to say like all academics are bad. Actually, there's a lot of academics that are opposing this. They're just being put in the shadows.
No, those academics are shit.
Like
those academics are shit.
Yeah, the ones that are promoting critical race theory, but the ones that are opposing it and have been vocal and they're doing it at the risk of their jobs, they're just not getting very much attention. Even this video, like, they interview Kimberly Crenshaw. They don't bother interviewing like Stephen Pinkerton. I mean, James Lindsay's a good one, but there's plenty of other ones, right? That they could have talked to say why we think that critical race theory is a bad idea. They don't bring them into the picture, which is part of how CNN is gaslighting you, thinking that Crenshaw's the expert, the only one that understands this. And they will never present you in the opposition. In fact, later in the article, they do present some opposition, which is a link to the Heritage Foundation, which the article isn't bad, but that's not, like, it's almost like they intentionally took the worst opposition points, found that article, and linked it in there, even though there's hundreds, right? Like 99 to 1 that are better than that.
Well, it does. Okay, so they aren't looking for better. They aren't looking for anything that's going to explain it and make it sound good. They're looking for things, because right now they're trying to baffle you with bullshit.
Oh, I agree. I completely agree, and that's why I pointed it out, is that they're trying to lie to you. They're trying to make the normal person think that there's no good principled opposition to this critical race theory bullshit when there's a ton of it. And it's not all coming from the right.
No, it's coming from everywhere but the far left.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Wow.
Wow. So read on.
Okay. Move page. Okay, there we go. Excuse me. Where was I? Oh, I remember where I was now. The theory has a passionate group of followers. Okay, I said that. Okay. At this point, it is wider than any specific discipline or school of thought. It isn't even exclusively American, Crenshaw said.
True and unfortunate.
Yeah, I know. The concept has taken on new urgency since the killings last year of George Floyd. Breonna Taylor and other African Americans by police officers led to a national reckoning on race.
I love this one because it's just taking these popular topics and refusing all the context everybody has said around police shootings.
Well, some of the most heartbreaking cases of police brutality I've seen have nothing to do with race. In fact, it's usually more than one person, and they're all a mix. Like, there's a mix of people of different races involved in the groups that do police brutality. It's never been a racially based.
That's the objective facts around it, but they need to turn it into this binary, like cops are evil or cops are the blue line.
But it wasn't because he was black. It's because he was a big guy and he was obviously on drugs, and Chauvin fucked up. Anyway. Over the past year, many Americans have called for an examination of systemic racism. That's a very mild way of putting billions of dollars worth of damages and almost a year's worth of riots. That's wow. I'm incredibly impressed with that. Wow. In part through education, such as the teaching of the New York Times 1619 Project in schools. That Pulitzer Prize-winning project reframes American history around the date of August 1619, when the first slave ship arrived on American shores. Okay. Oh. Now, the author of the 1619 Project has already said that she didn't make a factual account of history. She wrote her own history. It's basically, basically, she wrote a book.
No, they're essays. It's a collection of essays that are conjectural, or that are positing theories and ideas, and so then now they're going to try to pass it off as being factual. Right?
Yeah. Well, it's already been called out. The author literally put up on multiple places on social media that this was her rendering of history based on her own emotions. She's already admitted it's bullshit.
Right.
Like outright numerous times. It's her lived experience, or her, what does she call it? Her truth of some sort. I can't remember the words.
Her truth.
It's really called critical historiography, which is where they're trying to make history fit the narrative they want it to fit. But it's not history. It's not how they actually teach people to understand history. And history is subjective. It really is. Like, in a lot of ways with the way they teach it. But
do you want to know a dirty little secret? You want to know a dirty little secret, y'all? There were already slaves on this soil when those boats showed up. Native Americans have been enslaving each other for thousands of fucking years.
Well, didn't say that in the 1619 Project.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate one more time. History is historical facts combined with interpretation. And interpretation is different between people. The 1619 Project decides to... Like, the one thing you can't do with history is ignore the historical facts and make your interpretation just fit the facts you want.
Well, and then there's also historical patterns.
The 1619 Project does exactly that. Something that no historian should ever do, which is only sample facts that fit the narrative that you were set out to tell from the get-go. That's what the 1619 Project does. That's why people are against teaching that in schools, because it is not teaching kids how to actually think about these events in history. It is teaching kids what to think about these events in history.
This one really pisses me off because you really do Native Americans a disservice when you pretend that they were like simpleton leaf eaters that were part fairy and never fought each other, you really do a disservice to the strength and the culture of many Native American tribes when you talk about them in these terms. And I don't think a lot of these people that run these programs that talk about, you know, slaves for this and you know, the noble savage and stuff, I don't think they understand how many of the more warrior-based tribes that have survived, there aren't many left anymore, but how insulting it was or is to hear their proud heritage referred to in such a weak and meek manner. It would be like saying that the Japanese have always been peaceful. They would find that offensive. Because it's a lie, and you're taking away some of the power and the strength of, you know, the Apache or the Yaqui or, you know, the Aztecs who are now Central Mexicans. You know, it devalues a lot of the pride one can take in their own history of their people or their culture, just the things that have been passed down to them through the years.
It's almost like you can appreciate things that might be negative today about a prior culture without damning the prior culture because it was a victim of its time. It's weird how you could possibly do that. I mean, I don't know. According to my CRT professors, that makes me a bigot, but I can't help but do it. This is actually something recent. Was Hitler a great man?
No, he was very short. You can't really say he's great. His stature was tiny. I don't even know if I could call him great. He was brilliant.
I just mean great in like the most benign sense that he had a major impact, and he certainly did, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And these people are calling historians out. Like, this is a real thing. They're calling historians out that, like, are trying to look at him neutrally, like, just kind of as, like, a person of his time, person with his ideas, to make you think and understand who he actually was. They're just like, your interpretation makes you a fucking Nazi. That's not what they're trying to do. They're trying to make you, like, really understand how this comes to be. That's how you actually prevent it in the future. God. Sorry, that just came to me because there was, like, a Twitter post that was going on about it. But I'm just like, the way CRT people work, like, they're just opening themselves up to the next actually, like, real racist authoritarian regime. Like, if they ever get power, that's going to be the uprising. The white nationalists are going to get everything they want. Because they can't even argue against them, right?
Yeah. Dude, I love that video. Is it who is it that does the thing with Brad Paella? Or Pella, whatever his name is. He does the stuff with Awaken with JP. And there was one of them who was a white nationalist and the other one was a critical race theorist.
And they were best friends.
And they were saying the exact same things. Was it JP that did the video with him? I don't think it was. But it was funny as fuck. Yeah.
I don't know. Let's get through the rest of this article and then decide what we want to do for the rest of the night.
Oh, well, we only have half an hour left, but this is painful. Okay, so where is it taught? Cornell and Harvard universities have conducted research on it. So have the National Institutes of Health. The theory has also led to similar groups focused on Asian American, Latino, and Indian racial experiences. Hold on. What is the National Institute of Health? And why is it researching critical race theory? What does it have to do with health?
It also doesn't matter because any research into it automatically adheres to its assumptions.
And which Indian racial experiences? Are we talking about Indians from India or are we talking about Native Americans? Because they use them interchangeably on the left. What?
You know what? I'm going to leave this ambiguous.
Okay. Because the left uses them interchangeably. They don't give a shit. Whatever they can. Yeah, okay, anyway. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention had scheduled training on critical race theory last fall before the program was canceled by President Trump's White House. So far,
Yeah,
President.
right. Biden got in office, and we're prioritizing vaccine to the minority groups.
Yeah, you know the people that are
Like the
least
female
likely to trust the government.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, we're going to be more equitable by trying to shove this down your throat, and you better listen to us, or you won't kill Grandma. But guess what? They're meanwhile saying, no, you go ahead and just don't do nothing. Just go kick those assholes in the ding-ding and leave us alone. You know, that's...
Grandma.
I'm sorry. My grandma's salty, okay?
Grandma, no.
My grandma's salty as hell.
Calm
She
down,
would say
Grandma.
something.
All right, I'm actually gonna read the next sentence because a lot of very smart people like Christina Hoff Sommers and Jesse Signal were talking about how you can vote for Biden because his administration, they're not going to buy into this critical race theory stuff because they're moderates. Why would they piss off their moderate base? And then the article by CNN says, so far, President Biden has been more receptive to critical race theory.
Because he's a flaming racist. Sorry.
Is promoting an education program opposed by many conservatives that address systemic racism as defined by critical race theory, which is not actually systemic race theory, or systemic racism in the U.S. and the country's legacy of slavery. So there you go. Like the same reason the very smart people were just like, you could vote for Biden. He's a moderate. Oh, he's not going to push this crazy far left nonsense. CNN straight telling you, yeah, he is. He's doing it. He's pushing it.
And they're proud of it.
Uh-huh.
They are proud.
Oh, I can't wait to read this section, everybody. Why is there so much resistance to it? Shall we find out what false attributions they're giving to us?
White devils.
Yay!
The white devil.
Yeah. Okay, so why is there so much resistance to it? Critics have slammed the theory, with conservatives accusing it of poisoning discussions on racism. That's accurate.
Stop.
It is.
Hold on. That's true, and I give them credit for at least posting a link. But they're posting a link to the Heritage Foundation, which inherently tries to weave in Christian conservative to all of their arguments. And this is where we have a real fucking problem. The problem isn't that it's a Democrat versus conservative issue. It is a liberal versus anti-liberal issue. And there's a lot of people that are leftists that are just like, yeah, I think we should have a market economy, but have social health care, right? Mm-hmm. Universal health care, things like that are against this. And they're framing it in this way where it's only conservatives oppose this. It's just not true. So many of the people that have been fighting against this, talking against this, even on YouTube, like James Lindsay, we cite them a lot. Helen Pluckers for sure, right? Helen doesn't. She's very left when it comes to social policies. There's a lot of people that do not fall into the conservative sphere, even in America, that oppose critical race theory.
There's also a lot of people that don't fall in the conservative sphere of America that are Christian. Yep. It's over half of America. They need to stop dispelling it and you can't keep disabusing the idea that there's a bunch of Christians, because the majority of America is still fucking Christian. No matter how many polls CNN comes out saying, look, 54% of America's atheist. No. Not true.
And the sense alone, it seems benign, but I can read through it. It's trying to make you think something about what the majority of people think about critical race theory that is not true.
Well, it's also, people aren't saying it's poisoning discussions on racism. Nobody's saying it's poisoning discussions on racism. We're saying it's creating a different type of racism now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure the Heritage article quoted that exactly, but they're pretending, I give them credit for at least linking to the Heritage Foundation, right? but they're linking to it as if like they're the authority on critical race theory opposition, and they're not.
No, the Ayn Rand Institute would be a good place to go see that dissected all to shit.
Yeah, funny enough, New Discourse is the best one.
Yeah, I know, but if you want to go with big, well-known mainstream institutions, the Ayn Rand Institute is who they should have gone after. They're actually bigger than Heritage. But they didn't, because it's harder to attack the Ayn Rand Institute, because you're not going to get a bunch of ardent anti-theists to go along with your cult. And that's what a lot of the Ayn Rand Institute is. Not the Rand Institute, the Ayn Rand Institute. Two different things, people. Okay, anyway.
She wrote a book or two.
She wrote a book or 2 or 5, and they might have had a few pages in them. They wasn't real big or anything. President Trump opposed the teaching of the 1619 Project in schools and banned federal agencies from conducting racial sensitivity training related to critical race theory. His administration called it divisive anti-American propaganda. That is accurate.
So there's actually a lie in there.
I'm saying that it was divisive and anti-American, but
yeah, the lie is they said racial sensitivity training.
It's not racial sensitivity training.
Trump never banned that. He never used those words, saying like we can't do that.
No.
Let's say CNN injected that into the sentence to make it sound like it was a bad thing.
To isolate it, right?
Well, yeah, they changed it so that they could make it look like Trump was just attacking people for the sake of attacking them.
Yep. Like, Trump never said anything about racial sensitivity training when he banned critical race theory. Never said that. They added that to the text to make you think Trump was just racially insensitive.
Well, yeah, that's the insinuation is that Trump is just racially insensitive. Yeah. And he didn't ban them from conducting racial sensitivity training. He banned them from conducting struggle sessions that CRT does, because that's the one thing they aren't talking about is how that they proselytize this shit to other people.
Well,
because
we also already talked about this, right?
Yeah.
Like Trump in the debate, like he couldn't have possibly gave like a good response, like explaining all the reasons why this should be opposed, because they purposely overcomplicate things, right?
Well,
they make it this giant onion to peel, which we do on the stream, which I will never be like. Someone said to Let's Be Frank when I was on his stream. The reason I pay attention to all this is they have two options to accuse you of disagreeing with critical race theory. They can call you a racist, which I'm fine with at this point, or they can say you don't understand. But I understand it just fine.
That's right. You're not ignorant. You know, you're not dumb.
No.
You fully understand it, and it's bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's finish this motherfucker out.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, I was. Come on, button work. There we go. Okay. Students in our universities are inundated with critical race theory. This is a Marxist doctrine holding that America is a wicked and racist nation, that even young children are complicit in oppression, and that our society must be radically transformed. Every single word there is accurate.
Yep. I actually can't even subtract context because it's just true.
No, and that was something Trump said, so.
Yeah,
Critical.
there's nothing inaccurate about that statement at all.
No, it's 100%. In fact, it's probably one of the best distillations of critical race theory I've heard in a while, was Trump's distillation. I really do. When he did the speech, not during the debates, but the speech about the ban, it was some of the best distillation I have heard from any political speaker as to how dangerous this stuff is. It really was, because he didn't mince the words that a lot of the other jabberwockies run their mouths about with it. Sorry, I don't like politicians, people. I really don't.
They're very smart people.
They're feces with teeth. Get over it.
That's why I call them Jabberwockies.
That's right.
I love just using the term "very smart people" as a broad pejorative for anybody that doesn't understand how bad
the
critical
Zappa
race theory
approach.
actually is.
Too overeducated people. That's
Yeah. Mitt Romney is a very smart person.
Very smart. S-M-R-T! Anyway, critical race theory is being forced into our children's schools. It's being imposed into workplace trainings, and it's being deployed to rip apart friends, neighbors, and families. Another statement of truth from Trump. It is. But Crenshaw notes that merely acknowledging the nation's history of racism has long been vilified as unpatriotic and anti-American. No, actually, it hasn't. We've already addressed this. That's a total.
Yeah.
She's stating the opposite of what's actually happened in America. We addressed our history of racism, and then we had a 400% increase in mixed race people being created and put onto this planet.
Well, not so much as that. Like, our entire fucking lifetime, we've been taught to judge people as individuals.
If you want
acknowledge their race, de-emphasize the importance of the people's colors of skin.
Well, okay,
Like,
and I'm saying one of the most verifiable ways to measure racism would be how many mixed race people are in your interracial or your mixed race society.
Yep.
Because the interracial relationships shows integration, or not integration, what's the word I'm looking for?
Integration
It is
is actually
integration.
not a bad word. It's cultural integration, right?
Yes, that's what I'm looking for. And
you don't look at a person as a person of a different skin color, but you look at a person as a person of the same culture for you, and you guys get married and you have kids, and you raise them to be in the same culture that you believed in.
Yes, and you have way too many people that are mixed race that all believe in the same culture that aren't going to buy into this, because this ideology is 50 years too late. There's too much physical evidence in front of everyone for this to keep working.
Well, yeah, we've talked about this before, right? Many people of different races disagree with critical race theory. There's very smart thinkers like Thomas Sowell. The younger ones are like Coleman Hughes, but they call them Uncle Toms, right? Like, it's amazing how the critical race theorists call the people that disagree with him that are minorities racist under that entire idea of false consciousness.
Okay. Yeah, I forgot about false consciousness. I forgot. Oh, you don't understand.
Sorry, false consciousness is like, you don't understand how racist the world actually is. And because you don't agree with us, you're just fucking being white adjacent. You're upholding white supremacy by not agreeing with us critical theorists.
False consciousness is a euphemism for stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Just remember that, y'all. So when they say it, go ahead and use it on them, because it's a euphemism for stupid.
Well, they don't actually ever say the word false consciousness, but they absolutely do attack well, they do sometimes, but they more than likely they'll attack any person that is a minority that is trying to disagree with the critical theorist.
Yeah. Okay, we got two paragraphs left, but it's actually 2 sentences because CNN has high-end writing.
Yeah. We need to still read the rest of the article because the rest of it's not very interesting. So get through.
No,
it.
there's only 2 sentences left. So it bears acknowledging that we've been here before. For his nonviolent agitation for civil rights, MLK was targeted by the FBI as the most dangerous man in America. Okay, there is a total and complete difference between what MLK was doing and what CRT is doing. MLK was actually trying to stop people from hurting each other, and CRT is trying to force people to hurt each other.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. Not to mention that, but like really think about like MLK and like what he was trying to do. He was actually like acting in response to the Black nationalist movement. And I know that like if people really know a lot about MLK, that he had a lot of socialist leanings. Like at the end of the day, like he really meant it, where he's like, black kids and white kids should be playing together. And here he says the exact opposite. Like we've had articles on the stream where people were talking about, I don't let my kid play with white kids because it's dangerous.
Oh my god. Yeah, I actually did a story on that. I did a video on something like that back when I still had the ability to edit. So, yeah. The civil rights and black freedom movements were targeted, surveilled, and disrupted by the FBI. Actually, it was the CIA, motherfucker. Black Lives Matter has been framed by some in law enforcement as a terrorist organization. So racial justice work has always had an uneasy relationship with the federal government. Okay. Really?
Black Lives Matter is actually like being touted amongst like every law enforcement agency and like corporate America as this apolitical movement that you're totally allowed to spread in the workplace.
No, just
Like,
this CIA's woke ads.
Yeah, like, I mean, you could expose me, Atima, but you know I work for a very, very big corporate American company.
Yeah.
At the headquarters, right? Yeah, they allow BLM shit to be propagated as much as you want, pretending it's some apolitical movement.
Yeah. Sorry, give me a second. I have to sneeze.
Well, actually, irate. You want to give the link to the crowd? See if anybody wants to come in and talk to us for like 20 minutes max.
Sure.
All right, motherfuckers, come in and tell us how we're wrong. We're racist assholes. Or come in and tell us how we're right and we're not covering enough. I know MC could do that.
Okay. Link generated.
Da na 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 da 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 da. I mean, if nobody joins, we'll just end the stream. But I think people have things to say. Irate is not asleep. Get in here, motherfuckers.
I'm right here, man.
Yeah, I know you're not. It's amazing the one time we're just like, stream's open. Come in. Nobody wants to join. But like there's been several times where like, hey, you want people to join the stream? And they're like, oh yeah, they will totally be there, and they're lining up en masse. Apparently tonight we fucked up.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll give it a few moments. I think, God, this was actually kind of a cool stream. Oh, we have an MC in the green room.
Sweet.
What up, MC?
Hey, how's it going?
Groovy, dude. How you doing?
Hi, MC.
Long time no talk, dude.
Yes, very much so. Let me lower my headphones here because my ears are. I'm now experiencing what most people experience when they listen to my channel.
Sorry.
No, it's my fault for doing this. Okay, I'm set now. Now with this critical race theory crap, all right, people don't realize just how long it's been going on. All right.
I mean, I do, but I agree. Most people don't. That's actually why we've been doing this stream on Saturdays.
The U.S. military was putting this crap out, right, in the 1980s, right, where they were telling people, they were literally telling people, the EO people, right, you know, the equal opportunity people that they had assigned, were literally having slides telling people, if you're a minority, it's impossible for you to be a racist. Okay? They were justifying this crap time and time and time again. And it hasn't made things better, obviously. Because when you confront somebody with it. Go ahead.
Well, see, it's actually very telling that the way CRT spreads, it doesn't do it naturally through, like, you know, individuals just spreading this. Actually, they find themselves into positions of government power. And what you're saying is they found themselves into those positions back in the 1980s.
Yeah. Oh no, they were placed there. That's how they got there. Right? That was their ticket to for a lot of these people. It was their ticket to ride. Right? Once you get a government job, you can't be fired. You don't have to really have any kind of productivity. How do you measure their productivity? Well, you don't really. You know what I mean? Their productivity is whatever they claim it is, right? So,
what's amazing about that is, like, even the private sector, once a company accepts this and they get people that are executives for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and they have a department for it, you can't fire those people because they're just going to accuse you of being racist if you do.
Oh, exactly. Once you capitulate, right? Then you run that slide where everything is a racist, and everything that's told, everything that's said, then becomes somewhere on the spectrum of you know, either racism, homophobia, you know, misogyny, right? When I was, and you could see it. Okay, now I was in for 14 years, right? And then I left, and then the Army sent me back. You know, I got a nice little letter from George Bush saying, you know, pursuant to presidential directive, you were ordered back on active duty, sent over to go play in the sand, right? But I can tell you right now, from when I left to when I came back in, it's night and day. It hasn't made things better. In fact, if it came down to things like sexual harassment, something I never really saw in the first 14 years I'd been in the Army, it was frickin' rampant, right? And I'm not exaggerating this. And I would make comments on it to people. They would just kind of like shrug. Yeah, this is how it's always been, and then walk away. And it's like, no, you have taken these things, and because of what you've done, you haven't made things better. You've made things worse. And this is why I got in trouble the other day when I stood up there and made the comment that women in the military are coddled. And I don't mean it in the sense that all the women are can't do the job and they aren't doing this. That's not it. It's the fact that they put in all these little things to quote unquote help them.
Yep.
That too many, then there's two parts of this. Too many take advantage of it, and when other people see them taking advantage of it, they start getting it into their heads. They're all doing this.
Yeah,
and it's bad for everything.
I'm glad MC joined, and I'm going to try to summarize what you said, and I'm probably going to get some stuff wrong, but the reality of the situation is that, like, most women can't cut it for being in peak combat condition. You just can't.
No, it's not in our biology to handle that kind of pressure.
But what CRT does, whenever you apply it, they say like there's no difference between genders, and then they say like if you're excluding X% of women from participating, even in the military, which is something like I'm just thinking, like me personally, I'm just like, that should be like a really fucking high bar to go out and actually kill other people to protect your country. And they're just saying, no, it shouldn't be that high of a bar if not enough women are passing. It's because your restrictions are sexist. Am I wrong there, MC?
No, that is exactly that is exactly what they do.
And then I think just following up on that, the end result is they lower the bar for being even infantry in the army.
Well, yeah, but they. So go ahead. I'm sorry. I was just going to say they actually do kind of coddle women in the military. They do.
There's no doubt that they do. There's no doubt that they do, and I don't mean it from the perspective that every woman is quote unquote coddled and can't do the job. That has nothing to do.
It's just their nature as guys that want to protect people. They just naturally do it.
That's another aspect.
And it's going to be a smaller percentage of women than men too.
Like, it's because it's not in our biological nature to be warriors.
Yeah, it's a biological reality that only in critical theory do people deny this. Like, for a long time, right? Even during World War II, right? We let the women stay home. And funny enough, we let them do men's jobs.
Actually, flight instruction a lot and shit like that, too.
Which actually, like, cut down the barrier between men and women a little bit. But the fact of the matter is still, like, if you give men and women a choice, like, women are always going to gravitate towards things that are for people, and men are always going to gravitate towards things that are for things, right? That's why in Sweden, you have, like, in nursing degrees, a society that is basically tore down all societal structures based on sex. Women still make up most of nurses, and men still make most of engineers. Only in societies.
The problem comes back.
What's funny is, real quick, only in societies like India, right, where they have a huge tech sector, do they have a massive amount of women in tech, because that is one of the most lucrative careers they can pursue to sustain themselves, and like nursing and other things are not a good option for them.
Well, in India is a prime example of what the reason you have women in tech in India has to do with the fact that India was a backwards country, okay, and technology allowed women, all right, an avenue that in a country that doesn't have technology doesn't exist.
Yep, and there was no opportunities for women to pursue any other avenue besides that to get to the level of success they get to if they go through tech.
Oh,
and in Western societies, like, there's plenty of avenues that are fine for them.
Oh yeah,
which is why you see women in tech in India. In fact, the point I'm trying to make is you have to create conditions that restrict success in order to make women do jobs that men would usually do, right? You have to restrict success on the kinds of jobs that women are more apt for, like naturally, in order for them to do it. And India is an example, right? You can't make money in India as a fucking nurse, but you can make a lot of money in India as a SQL DBA person.
Well, sure, but the other aspect of that, the reason for that, once again, is it gives them an avenue that didn't exist before in most of their areas. So naturally, because the tech allows them that avenue, they're flowing into it on a natural basis. Whereas the rest of the society is still stuck in with a lot of the other mindset issues that India has. I mean, India has a lot of problems, to be honest.
No. MC, I completely agree with you. We're not disagreeing at all.
Yeah, no, and the thing is with the military is, look, can women do the job of a man? All right, depends on the job. The advantage of men in the military, to be honest, is flexibility. I can take a man and say, okay, I can take you as a soldier and put you in a combat arms unit. I can expect you to perform. I can take you from that combat arms unit and I can stick you in a tank unit, an armor unit, or an artillery unit and expect you to perform. Or I can sit there and put you in a logistics unit where you're humping, heavy pieces of equipment and expect you to perform. I could make you a mechanic and I can expect you to perform. When, however, you add women to that mix, you run into the fact that the military still functions, all right, from physical ability. And I'm talking about strength more than anything else. You cannot expect a woman and say, well, she can be in an armor unit. Really? How is it if the tank gets hit, all right, in the tread, and you have to replace the tread? How effective is that woman going to be when a section of that tread weighs as much as she does? You can't do that then. So then what do you do? Well, then you have to put, it went from, like I was trying to explain to somebody one time. Something when I first came in the Army was I was expected to lift 80 pounds above my head to put it on a shelf. That same 80 pounds went from me expecting to be able to lift it over my head by myself to a 2-man lift, all right, to a 3-person lift, all to accommodate the fact that most women couldn't meet that standard.
Yep. It's like 90% can.
You know why?
They're not physically built that way.
They aren't big enough. They just aren't big enough.
Exactly. You're not physically capable of doing it. Now, as far as women in combat, and there have been a lot of studies. People don't even realize this. There have been a lot of studies about women in combat, and there's 2 main modern time frames where they had intermixed women male combat units, right? And that was the Soviet Union during World War II, right? And the Israelis during the early part of the combat of Israel. Neither one of them actually have mixed units anymore, and there's a reason for it, right? And it's one of the things that you were mentioning earlier. When you have intermixed units, guys tend to be very protective of women, and it lowers their aggressive combat efficiency because it makes it more difficult, right? Because there is a natural protective aspect to that. And for women in that same role, it's even worse because, especially when they're in a command position, because the people under them are not subordinates, they are her children. Yeah, and that mentality overlays things, and it makes it very difficult. Where women excel, right, in a combat environment is in the defense. When they're protecting something, they are hellions. Right?
Logistics.
Yeah, MC, I gotta stop you because I know you can go forever. Actually, funny enough, MC, if you want to talk with me specifically, I'm free for the rest of the night. But however, we've been going on for 2 hours. Thank you for joining. We actually, MC, you don't know it, but we were just like, we'll do 20 minutes for call-ins. Guess how long you talked?
Well, I apologize.
20 minutes. No, MC, yeah, thank you. Like, a lot of what you're talking about actually plays into what you said about how they're trying to make this illusion that, like, biological sex doesn't matter. And you're just like, just look at the fucking military, bro. Like, it matters a lot.
Actually, MC, I would like to. I was wondering if maybe at some point you and I could do a stream where I ask a bunch of questions as a military mom who had a son in intelligence, so I don't really know much about his military experience because he couldn't tell me. In fact, he still can't tell me. Is there a time or a way that maybe you and I can do a stream where we kind of do like a Q&A so people can get a better understanding of like military culture, how it affects you when you get out? And
sure. I would be more than willing to do that. On the weekends are probably the easiest, though.
Yeah, for me too. Weekdays are rough. Carl does 12-hour days now, so.
Yeah. 12-hour days are no joke. I mean, I've had enough of those in my life.
No joke.
But yeah, the weekends would work. Yeah, I mean, if you want to set something up for like within the next couple of weeks, that's fine. Sure.
Awesome. That would be awesome. We'll shoot for a Sunday. I will hit you up probably in the evening time tomorrow. Or Monday. Probably Monday, actually. Tomorrow's Mother's Day. I totally forgot.
You forgot Mother's Day? Oh, no. To be honest, I forgot Mother's Day too in a different manner. I thought it was last week, so I gave my wife all her presents last week.
Oops.
And she looked at me. Are you stupid? Well, yeah, it's one of those things.
Maybe kind of a little, but please don't hold it against me, dear. I still love you.
She was like, she didn't know what to do. She was like, well, he kind of remembered.
It's the thought that counts.
Yeah, especially the thought that, I married a dumbass. Oh, God, how do I live with this? Anyway, sorry.
Yes. All right. So, yes, we will let you guys go, and I will definitely hit you up this week so we can do that, a Q&A on military culture and how it affects mindsets in the long term. Okay. Other than that, what are we doing for closing out?
I don't know, I might do an after stream, I might not on my channel. If you don't know how to get to my channel, I'll just type a whole bunch of characters and you can click on the 3 dots next to my name and get to my channel. I actually don't even know if I'm gonna, probably not, but like subscribe to me just in case.
That's right.
It really is a just in case channel too.
If you want to continue this discussion on your channel, I'm more than willing to do that.
Yeah, we'll talk after the stream ends, but I rate like close this motherfucker out.
All right. Well, this is Alright Prostate, and tomorrow, for the ice cream interview, I will be talking with Errant Bell. It's this lady I met in Drone Tech server, and she's interesting, very interesting. She reminds me of like Prospero and Maddie were fused together into the same being. That would be her, or close. And
fascinated.
Yeah, and then Monday, I think Becca and I are going to talk about Alder James, who's the greatest trader in the history of the United States.
Well, one of them, yeah.
Lee
Atwater is really bad.
Well, yeah, I'm not talking about modern day now.
Oh, okay.
That list is fucking long. All right, and on that note, Excel, you got anything? MC?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. I do appreciate it.
No problem, man. All right, and on that note, we're out, people. Take care.
All right, in about 30 minutes, look at my channel, and if we're live, we're live. If we're not, we're not.
Sweet.
Uh-huh.